I am good. How was your week? I know you had a big event on Saturday night. How did everything go?
Huge fundraising event for Faith Christian University, not university, Faith Christian Academy. It's a terrific school in Arvada. Usually we have big nights. This one was extra, extra big. So congratulations to them for all the money that we raised. As far as the world of sports goes, it was historic on so many different levels, from Ovechkin to Auriemma to Duke blowing a lead. And it was just a very, very fun weekend for sports. Unfortunately, if you're a Nuggets fan, it really wasn't that fun at all.
No, the Nuggets are in a very tenuous position right now. They're going to play postseason basketball. The question becomes now, where are they going to play it and against whom? They have already slipped now to fourth. They have four teams nipping on their heels, all of them a half game back. So they could be anywhere from fourth to eighth in this thing when the dust finally settles this week. They are literally a half game ahead of their four nearest competitors. So, and obviously are a team not playing well, a team that can't get healthy, a team that can't get their pieces all on the same board together at the same time. I think the road ahead is fraught with a fair amount of peril. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they are technically fourth, and I say technically because I'll get into that in just a minute. In the meantime, the NCAA basketball championship is tonight. Where are you watching the game? My suggestion, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC. You can also find them the place that I always go, the one in Highlands Ranch. They have outstanding food for starters. It is not bar food. It is so much better than that. 12 different burgers on the menu. Great wings, about 12 different sauces as well. The egg rolls, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls are amazing. The crowd there, it's just a really friendly crowd, really good people. The service is fantastic. If you go to the Highlands Ranch location like I go to, if you go there for the game, they have a huge LED wall where the entire game is going to be shown on that LED wall. It's just an amazing place to go. It's my favorite place to go. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill. Again, you can find them in the DTC. You can find them in Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Key term referring to basketball. The Nuggets are fourth, but they have a game in hand over the four other teams that are tied behind them. According to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, if everything plays out and those teams win, the Nuggets are seventh. They are currently seventh if those other teams win. Now you're probably thinking, well, who do those other teams play? Well, the Grizzlies take on a really bad Hornets team. The Timberwolves play the Bucks. The Clippers get the Spurs, and the Warriors get the Suns. So being in fourth place right now, yes, when you look at it, it says fourth, but you got to wait to see what happens after those four teams play those four games.
I don't even think that at this point you can be concerned about where you finish. I think that you have to be concerned about, can we get our feet back on the ground somehow? Can we be in 3 games? Can we possibly find something to take into the postseason with? It is unrealistic for me to think that they can start to do something that they haven't really done consistently all season long, and that is defend the basketball, close out on the three-point line, defend the three-point shot, play with focus and energy and enthusiasm towards rebounding and defense for as close to 48 minutes as you can get. Those even aren't my words. Those are Michael Malone's words. And here we are, Eric. We're down to the last week of the season. And I don't think it's unfair to say that the same questions that we were asking at the very beginning of the year in October are questions that we are still asking right now. Look, Jamal Murray has missed 5 games. They've lost 4 in a row during those 5 games. I don't know how dependable and trustworthy Jamal Murray is right now, and through no fault of his own. He's dealing with a hamstring. Look, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying from a pragmatic standpoint of what do I know about these Nuggets going into the postseason? Well, I know Jokic is going to be pretty damn good. I know Christian Braun is going to play with a lot of heart and a lot of energy. But I'm not sure what else I can say about the Nuggets at this point. Aaron Gordon, I count on Aaron Gordon's enthusiasm for the game and the energy that he plays with. I count on that. Okay, so those are 3 things that I feel really good to pretty good about. And after that, I don't know where to go with this team.
Well, the Nuggets going to their final week. They play 3 teams that are chasing them.
Yeah.
Sacramento is next up. They're chasing them, but they're not, meaning they are going to be a play-in team for sure. But then they get Memphis, and then they get Houston, and that Sacramento game and that Houston game is on the road. This was the line after the game that kind of struck a chord with me. After a game, after a loss, in the NFL, they call it the cool-down period.
Mm-hmm.
When the game ends, the players have 10 minutes before the media goes in there. You're still going to wind up getting guys raw. Westbrook was asked after the game if there was any sense of urgency to avoid the playoff game. And his answer was, I'm not sure. I mean, where do you really go from there? Russell Westbrook, he is a pistol. He's got a lot of energy. He's a very intense guy. And he looks like a guy who is beaten up. He has taken a lot of heat recently, specifically with what happened in that Minnesota game.
Yeah.
I'm sure when he came here, he thought he's competing for a championship because he's playing with Nikola Jokic. And guess where he is? Where he has been for the majority of his career. Not on the outside looking in, but no closer to a championship than he really was early on in his career with Oklahoma City.
And Eric, look at what Russell Westbrook probably thought coming in. I'm going to be a guy off the bench. I'll get my minutes. But now look at the minutes that he's playing. He's playing starter-esque kinds of minutes. That dude has played probably a lot more basketball than even he thought that he was going to play for this team, thinking that he would be a 6th, 7th guy, that he would play, minutes at various times, but no way was he going to be one of the focal points. I mean, Russell Westbrook has played with varying degrees of return starters minutes through a good portion of the season. I'm not sure I don't think that's what he was signed up for. I don't think that the Nuggets probably thought that's what they were signing up for. But here we are. So now you've got a I'm not going to say old, but an experienced Russell Westbrook who is probably at the end of his physical rope a little bit right now. But to his credit, and I've gotten on Russell Westbrook over the years, and certainly after that Minnesota game, no question about it. But the dude shows up every night, right? He's there, and he plays hard. He doesn't always play well. He's limited in what he can do, shooting the ball and things of that nature. But the dude shows up and competes. So you at least have that going for you, but I'm not sure that that's what you want to try to live on now as you head into the postseason. But Eric, they may not have a choice.
Yeah. Well, Jamal Murray still out. Michael Malone addressed it. I'm not going to call it a coin flip, whether he plays in the playoffs or not. It depends on how you want to look at it when you listen to what Malone said, but there's a chance he's not going to play. And if he doesn't play, this will be actually whether he plays or not. Okay. This stat is true. In the last 4 of 5 seasons in the playoffs, Jamal Murray has either not played or has been injured in the playoffs. And even when he's on the floor, the defense is garbage. Their transition defense is garbage. So even if Jamal Murray does come back, yeah, he will give them a lift offensively, and that's fine. He doesn't do anything that really scares you on the defensive end. It would be great to get him back. It would lengthen your bench. But even getting him back, is it really going to make that much of a difference? Honestly.
Well, I mean, offensively is not where this team has issues. I mean, they didn't even have a great offensive game last night and still scored 120 points. I mean, I will say this, they are fairly remarkable in that regard. I mean, they are a team that can track meet you a little bit. But what we're finding, as we generally do late in the season, heading to the playoffs, if you can't stop teams, if you can't take away something from teams at this level, if you can't make it difficult on them on some level in your three-point defense, for instance, then you've got real issues. You really do. And right now, you've got Nikola Jokic as Exhibit A squared, and then you go down the road and Christian Braun is an energy player, but he's not a 30-point night guy. I mean, he's a guy that could probably give you 18 to 22 in just a normal game of expectations. Michael Porter Jr. is not, doesn't appear to me to be in a particularly good place right now. He's not shooting the ball with consistency and with confidence. Aaron Gordon had a game last night where, and he's earned this every now and then, but the timing was curious. He had a game last night where he was not really a factor in it. So, and you're rolling out. And you're rolling out how many minutes is Pickett going to get now heading towards the postseason? He's getting big time minutes now down the stretch. This is a guy that wasn't even seeing the light of day through most of the season, that all of a sudden now is getting key minutes. It's not a good recipe, my friend.
You really have to wonder, no matter who the matchup is, and playoffs are all about matchups, no matter who the matchup is, I can see him getting bounced by any team.
Yeah.
Any team.
Yeah.
And I'll take it even a step further. Although I don't know how far down I want to go with this. You think there's a chance they don't even make the playoffs if they go into the play-in game? It's a one-game thing. If Murray doesn't play, you're going to get a heroic effort from Jokic. You just don't know what you're getting from anybody else. And if it is a bad matchup for the Nuggets, that's going to be a problem.
Well, not only is it a matchup in that case, then it becomes, if you're the wrong seed, it becomes a one and done proposition. I mean, you got 48 minutes that you got to play for your postseason life,
right?
For goodness sakes. When you are limited to bad defensively, when you are very dependent on one player offensively to be great every single night. And that's where we are with Jokic now. Jokic has to be great every night.
Yeah.
He was 41, 15, and 13 last night. And you barely even notice it now because it's just so much a part of what he delivers night in and night out. But is that really reasonable to count on every single night out in the playoffs? They're playing with fire.
I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like the Michael Jordan era before Scottie Pippen, where Jordan had to do everything.
Yeah.
He's playing with guys like Ronnie Lester and Granville Waiters and Orlando Woolridge. And Jordan had to be out of this world every single night. And that's what it's looking like for Jokic right now. And I saw a stat over the weekend, which I had to read it twice because I could not believe this was possibly true. Did you see the stat about historical numbers when it comes to offensive rating, when it comes to Jokic and the Nuggets?
Mm-mm.
The Nuggets have the greatest offensive rating. And I don't want to get too deep into stats here because, quite frankly, I don't understand it fully. But according to this metric, like WAR, I don't know if I totally understand WAR in baseball, but I understand enough to kind of talk about it or at least listen. The Nuggets have the highest offensive rating in NBA history. Let me repeat that. They have the highest offensive rating in NBA history of any team that has ever played basketball in the NBA when Jokic is on the floor. They have the worst offensive rating in NBA history of any team that has ever played in the NBA when Jokic is not on the floor. You cannot get two polar opposites than that. First of all, we don't need to go down this road. Maybe we'll later this week. And it seems like there seems to be a groundswell now for Nikola Jokic to win the MVP. I don't know if he will. I'm hearing a lot of people saying this is the guy I voted for, this is the guy I voted for. But either way, has the word MVP, most valuable player, ever been more appropriate when you're either the best ever or the worst ever with him? And then, oh, by the way, historically, when you look at his numbers, top 3 in scoring, top 3 in rebounding, top 3 in assists, probably, tops or at least top 5 in three-point shooting percentage, all of that. It is mind-boggling that if you're Calvin Booth and you look at this team that you assembled, that you're putting that much on Jokic, and you're falling into a position where I'm not going to say they're not going to make the playoffs, but once you're in that play-in game, and by the way, if they lose the first one, then they are done. They might as well not even show up for game 2 to get in, because then they're the 8th seed and they're going to get wrecked by Oklahoma City. Their only hope is Houston. Houston is talented, but so young. You just have to wonder, are they just happy to be there? Are they experienced enough? That's their best hope, being the 7th seed, actually.
Yeah. You're kind of hoping that Houston has an Oklahoma City-like experience from last year, right? Yeah, you got to cut your teeth, and that's the way it is in the NBA. You generally get to the playoffs, then you learn how to win in the playoffs. Here's the quandary moving forward for Calvin Booth and Stan and Josh Kroenke.
I don't know if Calvin Booth's going to have a quandary.
He may not have a quandary.
I was talking to somebody close to the team, and they honestly believe that Calvin Booth, to say he's on the ropes. Yeah. He's not doing a rope-a-dope. He's not doing a rope-a-dope with Foreman. He's really hurt on the ropes with Foreman right now.
But when you stop to think of it, they got themselves into a position where they have the great max player, super max player in Nikola Jokic, who is automatic and unquestioned. Then you have 2 max players in Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. who are not dependable. Aren't dependable.
In all fairness, Murray was for about 8 weeks, but then again, a season isn't 8 weeks.
No,
I mean, how many weeks are a season? Is it 20 roughly? Let's see. You start the season
in October.
November,
the very first week of November.
November, December, January, February, March, April. 6 months times 24. So, and then that's 8 weeks. So he's been dependable basically for a third of the season.
Like I said, thank you for making my point, because I agree. You have max players in Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. who don't deliver like max players.
Yeah.
Period. They just don't. They can be good to great on any given night, but the lack of consistency that both of them play, or in Jamal Murray's situation, don't play with. Look, Michael Porter Jr. is at least available, right? We've given him big time credit for being available with his back issues, his foot issues, things of that nature. For him to be available for his teammates is admirable, but he's not consistent in those times. I think that we can agree. His game, the other night, he went to the basket and actually dunked the ball. I was like, where the hell? Why don't we see this more often? Well, we don't see it more often because he's still a catch and shoot guy. That's what he does. And then Jamal Murray, and again, I don't say this with any malice. He is not able. I think that Jamal Murray is enough of a competitor that he wants to be out there with his team. If physically you can't answer the call, you can't answer the call. But unfortunately, that works against him in terms of the perception of whether or not he's a good, worthy teammate.
Let me ask you, just looking at these facts alone, and I understand I'm looking at this completely 100% in black and white. I'm not coloring any of this. If I said to you before the season that you're going to sign a guy to a deal for over $200 million, a max contract, and in the previous 4 seasons, he helped win you a championship, but in the other 3 in the playoffs, he missed or was injured going in. Then the season that you do sign him, he's going to be injured going in or he's going to miss it. So 4 or 5 seasons in the playoffs, he's either missed it or injured going in, but he did help you win a championship in his healthy season. Forget about giving that guy $200 million. Would you give that guy $100 million? 75? I feel like an auctioneer. But I'm going to go backwards. 100, can I hear 90, 90? Let's go down to 80. 80, how about 70,
right.
70?
Yeah.
How high would you go knowing that when you need the guy the most, he's not available or not injured? And now you're going to go 4 or 5 years with him.
Yeah. The problem was they were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't on Jamal Murray. And the problem is, so you end up signing him because you basically, essentially had no other choice. And I'm not saying that that was the reason. Look, there's a lot of Jamal Murray that you like. Don't get me wrong. I don't want this to sound like a negative referendum on Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is a very good NBA player. You'd like him to be a great NBA player. So the problem is, in a vacuum, would they have given him $200+ million? I don't think so, Eric. They had to because they really had no choice. What were they going to do? Right. The problem is I'm not going to say swung and missed, but the returns haven't been great this year on the contract. And frankly, has Michael Porter Jr. lived up to the terms of his contract? He's been a good player. There are times when he's been better than good. Right. But has he lived up to a max contract? The Nuggets have essentially 4 players on max contracts, 3 legitimate. One of them has exceeded expectations. Aaron Gordon has lived up to his part of the deal, in my opinion, but you've got 2 other guys, 2 guys that are on real straight max deals that neither have lived up, in my opinion, from a production standpoint, to the terms of their contracts.
All right, coming up after the break, the Rockies have made some moves. We saw one on the field yesterday. We're going to see another on the field soon. How much hope does this give you? And one of the greatest records in sports was broken yesterday. And it was stunning on a lot of different levels when you look at the symmetry, like the old Lincoln Kennedy thing. Remember that, Bruce? You know, Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy, or had a secretary named Kennedy, and Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln, yada, yada, yada. That's the way it was in some ways with this whole breaking of Wayne Gretzky's record and Geno Auriemma. Is it lazy analysis not to call him one of the top 5 coaches ever, any sport? Who's done more? That's next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar. All right, welcome back. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. You were out at opening day. That was a lot of fun, I'm sure, with the cold.
No, it was. It wasn't. It was. I was out there at about 6:45, and finished our digital work at about 12:30. My plan was. This was my plan, and you know about best laid plans, right?
Yeah.
My plan was to come home and warm up a little bit and then be back in time for first pitch at 2:10, which was reasonable. But I was so cold, and I know it's because of my old bones, and it took me probably until about 6 o'clock that night to literally get warm again. So I stayed home, watched the opener, did get out there a little bit yesterday for Chase Dollander. So you know me. I mean, I'm going to go to the ballpark. I love ballparks, and I'm comfortable in ballparks, and there was something to see yesterday, so that was good.
Okay, so how did Dollander look to you? As a guy who looked to me like a guy who has a live fastball, still has some work to do. If it was 7-year veterans, third start of the year, you would say it was okay. For Dollander, probably pretty good considering it was his major league debut. Yeah,
I think you're right on target. Considering the nerves and the heartbeat that he probably played with yesterday, he got that first 97, 98 mile an hour fastball up and in for a 2-run homer. 3 of the 4 runs that he gave up came on home runs.
Right.
He's got to place his fastball a little bit better. He didn't have a high strike ratio yesterday. He only threw first strikes to 6 times in 22 batters faced. He's got to get ahead in the pitch in the count a little bit better than he did. He was facing a lot of traffic, but he was able to get out of harm. He's got a very live fastball that makes batters swing and miss. He's going to be a very good power pitcher as long as that arm stays healthy. But I thought he did what was necessary, and I thought Bud Black was right on target yesterday, saying he did what was necessary to win his first game in the big leagues. That's noteworthy. It should be enough, I would think, Eric, to give him another start this week, probably in San Diego. They go to San Diego and then LA for a 6-game road swing after they play 3 against Milwaukee. So we'll see, but good positive returns for him. And now Zac Veen is going to get the call up. And so we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and here we go now.
So we'll see the future, but the question is, what other futures coming up this year? And have they burned all their candles for this year? Because they have guys who are top prospects who are sitting in high A ball, which means they're years away. Amador might be back up, but really these are the two guys. Let's shift this to something historic that happened yesterday. I'm not going to suggest that this was treated like Barry Bonds' home run chase, but it was still very, very well publicized. Alexander Ovechkin passing Wayne Gretzky on the NHL's all-time goal-scoring list. 895 is the new number. And ironically, both Ovechkin and Gretzky, 1,487 games.
Unreal.
Ovechkin broke the record with one extra game, but it's really the same thing. And here's the other bit of irony. Ovechkin got that goal against the Islanders, and Gretzky's final goal was against the Islanders.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting, right? Some felt that this was an unbreakable milestone. Are there any milestones in all of sports that you can think of that there's just no possible way this is going to happen?
I mean, what's the assist number on Gretzky? 2,100 and something or other?
I don't know if it's that high, but he has more assists than Ovechkin has points.
Right.
He has more assists than anybody else has points.
Right. I think that in terms, I think that's probably beyond reach. Yes. It would be difficult to see anybody be able to produce those kinds of numbers. The goal scoring thing in and of itself was really impressive. And did you see that Ovechkin passed up an open net goal, I think the night before or 2 nights before? I think it was 2 nights before. I can't remember. And he said he wanted the goal.
Right.
He wanted it. He wanted to beat a goaltender for a goal. Didn't want a cheap one. And what do we I mean, Ovechkin's he won a championship. He's been a
3-time MVP.
Yep, he's been an MVP. He's been an interesting character and teammate. I kind of like Alexander Ovechkin. I anybody that plays at this level for this long deserves all of the credit that he possibly can. And of course, now he controls one of the great records in NHL history. But he's done it in a way that over the years for me has been agreeable and intriguing. And I find myself kind of cheering for the guy.
The 895 will always top his resume.
Yeah.
Then winning a Stanley Cup championship will be right there. But I'll tell you something that should be in the top 5. He's played with one team in his NHL career. That in itself is impressive as well. And he's always played on, for the most part, pretty good teams. And he's always been pretty healthy with the exception of a little bit this year. Wayne Gretzky was asked about 5 years ago, do you think anyone will have a chance to break your record for most goals in a career? He said, yeah, Ovechkin. He was asked why, and he said, for those 2 reasons. He always plays on a pretty good team where they score goals, and he's almost always healthy. With that, let's talk about another milestone. Geno Auriemma with Connecticut. Hadn't won a title in 9 years. You know, a lot of people looked at Auriemma and UConn and said, well, Auriemma simply out-recruited people. He always had the best players. That's why he won all those championships. Well, I got news for you. In today's college women's basketball, there aren't like 20 great teams, but it's not just UConn, Tennessee, and everybody else. Now you have South Carolina in there. Now you have other teams that are in there as well. Geno Auriemma has won more championships individually with UConn than UCLA men's basketball has won total. Has anyone ever won 12 championships in a major sport?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, why, Bruce? Please tell me why. When you talk about the greatest basketball coaches of all time, and you ask a man, not a woman, a man, how come Geno Auriemma never even goes into that person's frontal lobe?
Because he coaches a women's sport.
Well, F you. That's my answer.
And it is. It's absolute.
Either you can coach or you can't coach, period.
Right. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's asinine. And it speaks to the worst of us for people that think that. It doesn't make any difference. Look, everyone will always have their own personal preferences in terms of defining who the greatest of all time is. It's a personal preference. It's not written down somewhere as Hoyle. It's made for barroom arguments. It's best discussed with friends over a couple of beers. Someone will say Mike Krzyzewski. Someone will say Pat Summitt. Someone will say Geno Auriemma. Someone will say John Wooden. And you know what? It's great fodder. But no one is ever going to agree universally with who's the greatest of all time. I know one thing.
About that. It's about being top five, being mentioned top five.
I know one thing. Geno Auriemma is in my top five. I'm not so sure that Pat Summitt, if I really stopped and took a look at it, wouldn't be in my top 7, for instance. I mean, you know, there are people that have performed in a relative sense at a much higher level than their peers. And those are two coaches in women's basketball that have coached at much higher levels than their peers. And you bring up a really good point, and it's worth talking about. The depth of women's basketball continues to get better year in and year out. You're right. There probably aren't 20 great teams in women's basketball yet, but there are 20 really damn good basketball teams. And there's probably, you know, a group of about 8 or 9 now at the top that can win a national championship in any year. That's great progress for women's basketball. And one of the people that have spurred that is Geno Auriemma. Dawn Staley is on that type of pace as well. She's been in 3 of the last 4 finals. She's been in 5 straight Final Fours. That kind of stuff is hard to do. So, no, a tip of my hat to Geno Auriemma, Paige Beckers, and the University of Connecticut women's basketball program, which to me is, period, just one of the great programs in the history of college sport, period. I'm
going to go back to Olympic track and field to try and make my point with an analogy. You remember the great sprinter in the 200, Michael Johnson.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Dominated. But he was never called the fastest man in the world. Why? He didn't run the 100. He never got in that conversation. Right. He wasn't allowed to be in that conversation because the fastest man in the world, that goes to the guy who runs the 100, not the 200. So, like the fastest man in the world, it's kind of like who are the top 5 coaches of all time. You don't get to join that club unless you compete in that event, which is men's basketball. No, you don't get to be called the best in the best ever unless you compete in the 100, unless you compete in coaching men's basketball. And that's what's the shame of it. And some will say, how would Geno Auriemma do with a men's team? I have absolutely no idea. Yeah. I just know no coach has ever won 12 national championships in a major sport. That's what I do know. And as you said, the playing field has been leveled. It has. It's getting better. It's getting better with each passing year. I mean, you watched USC before Juju got injured. UCLA was a little bit of a fraud. I thought they ended up being a little bit of a fraud, or they just weren't ready for that kind of stage, which is kind of one and the same, I guess. But, South Carolina is a tremendous program. So you've got really good time, big time programs
with women that can really play.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, real quick.
really play. Yeah.
Real quick, tonight's national championship. Give me a prediction.
I like Florida in this game. I'm pulling for Houston. I love their nastiness. I love their perseverance. I love teams that don't quit, even when you're down 10 in the last minute and a half. Florida, to me, has another gear.
Yeah.
Big, strong, tough. They can score from a lot of different positions on the floor. And in Walter Clayton, they have an absolutely dynamic guy that can take over a basketball game at just about any time. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Florida in a close game. I am pulling for Kelvin Sampson and Houston.
Yeah, he screwed Indiana.
Yeah, I hear you. But hasn't he? I mean, has he taken care of that debt?
That doesn't matter to me.
For college basketball, not to Indiana fans. Okay, fair enough. And
I'm
that's
an Indiana
fair.
fan. I don't dislike that, but he was our coach, and he didn't deliver.
Yeah, I got you, and that's fair.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fair.
That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the national championship game tonight. Head on over to the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in the DTC or in Highlands Ranch to go watch it. Bruce, have a great morning. To all of you, make the best possible morning you can.